Thomas Pritzker is stepping down as executive chairman of Hyatt Hotels over what he called terrible judgment in maintaining contact with convicted sex offender Jeffrey Epstein and his associate Ghislaine Maxwell. In a letter to the board, the 75-year-old said he would not seek re-election this year. He said in his statement, "Good stewardship also means protecting Hyatt, particularly in the context of my association with Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell, which I deeply regret. I exercised terrible judgment in maintaining contact with them, and there is no excuse for failing to distance myself sooner." Pritzker has held the role since 2004 and highlighted Hyatt's growth under his leadership. Steps taken during his time include taking the company public, shifting to a so-called asset-light strategy, and navigating the COVID-19 pandemic. His announcement comes after the U.S. Justice Department released millions of internal documents tied to Epstein. These reveal the late financier's connections to high-profile figures in politics, finance, academia, and business, both before and after his 2008 guilty plea on prostitution charges. Epstein was arrested again in 2019 on federal charges of sex trafficking of minors, and later that year died in a Manhattan jail cell, with his death ruled a suicide.
Are aliens real?
They're real, but I haven't seen them, and they're not being kept in, what is it?
Area 51?
Area 51. There's no underground facility, unless there's this enormous conspiracy, and they hid it from the President of the United States.
What was the first question you wanted answered when you became president?
Where are the aliens?
Where are the aliens?
Iran held a military drill Monday in the Strait of Hormuz, a vital waterway for global oil shipments. Dubbed Smart Control of the Strait of Hormuz, the exercise aims to test Iran's readiness in the face of, quote, possible security and military threats. The drill came a day before talks between Washington and Tehran aimed at resolving their nuclear dispute. The U.S. has ordered a second aircraft carrier group to the Middle East ahead of the meeting in Geneva, ramping up pressure. Iran's foreign minister also met with the UN nuclear watchdog on Monday. International Atomic Energy Agency head Rafael Grossi said on X that, quote, in-depth technical discussions were held, while Iranian Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi said in a social media post that he was in Geneva to, quote, achieve a fair and equitable deal. He added that what is not on the table is submission before threats. Washington, other Western states, and Israel all believe that Iran's nuclear program is aimed at building atomic arms, which Tehran denies. The U.S. has also sought to expand the scope of talks to non-nuclear issues like Iran's missile stockpile. Tehran has said it is only willing to discuss curbs on its nuclear program in exchange for sanctions relief and won't accept a demand to end uranium enrichment. U.S. President Donald Trump said Monday that he would play a role in the high-stakes talks.
So I'll be involved in those talks indirectly, and they'll be very important. I think they want to make a deal. I don't think they want the consequences of not making a deal. They want to make a deal.
مند تنگی هرمز با محوریت نیروی دریایی سپاه و تحت اشراف کنترل و پایش میدانی فرماندهی کل سپاه پاسداران سرلشکر پاکپور در منطقه راهبردی تنگی هرمز در حال برگزاری است. بررسی آمادگی ژئوپلیتیک ایران در خلیج فارس و دریای عمان از مهمترین اهداف این رزمایش است. واکنش سریع قاطع تمرین‌های اطلاعاتی و عملیاتی یگان‌های مستقر در این رزمایش.
The U.S. military is preparing for the possibility of sustained weeks-long operations against Iran if President Donald Trump orders an attack in what could become a far more serious conflict than previously seen between the countries. That's according to two U.S. officials who spoke on condition of anonymity due to the sensitive nature of the planning. The disclosure raises the stakes for the diplomacy underway between the United States and Iran. U.S. envoys Steve Witkoff and Jared Kushner will hold negotiations with Iran on Tuesday in Geneva, with representatives from Oman acting as mediators. On Saturday, U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio said Trump's preference was to reach a deal with Tehran, but said, quote, "That's very hard to do." Meanwhile, Trump has amassed military forces in the region, raising fears of new military action. U.S. officials said on Friday the Pentagon was sending an additional aircraft carrier to the Middle East, adding thousands more troops along with firepower capable of waging attacks and defending against them.
No action.
On Friday, Trump was asked if he'd want to see regime change in Iran.
Well, it seems like that would be the best thing that could happen. For 47 years, they've been talking and talking and talking. In the meantime, we've lost a lot of lives.
Trump has long voiced skepticism about sending ground troops into Iran, and the kinds of U.S. firepower arrayed into the Middle East so far suggest options for strikes primarily by air and naval forces. Asked for comment on the preparations for a potentially sustained U.S. military operation, a White House spokesperson said, quote, "President Trump has all options on the table with regard to Iran." The Pentagon declined to comment. In a sustained campaign, the U.S. military could hit Iranian state and security facilities, not just nuclear infrastructure, one of the officials said, who declined to provide specific details. Experts say the risks to U.S. forces would be far greater in such an operation against Iran, which boasts a formidable arsenal of missiles. Trump has repeatedly threatened to bomb Iran over its nuclear and ballistic missile programs and crushing of internal dissent. Iran's Revolutionary Guard has warned that, in case of strikes on Iranian territory, it could retaliate against any U.S. military base.
Soldiers trudged through snow and braved fierce weather conditions on Sunday as Canada's armed forces launched a series of drills in its Arctic. Called Operation Nanook, the exercises are a part of a defense readiness operation in the region. They are designed to strengthen the Canadian Army's capacity to act in the Arctic. Here is Battery Captain Mackenzie.
What you're seeing today right now is the loading of a 777 on the back of a C-130 Hercules aircraft. We're currently in the process of flying the 777s up to Cambridge Bay in order to conduct a historic event, moving the guns higher into the Arctic than we've ever done before.
The troops were operating in Yellowknife, where temperatures plunged to below minus 22 degrees Fahrenheit. Captain Deanna Foster was inspecting her tactical transport helicopter.
So some of the challenges are pretty obvious. It's cold, it's February, so the helicopter keeping all the components, electronics, oils warm, the battery especially. Also with the helicopter, we want to make sure our crew is warm, so making sure that they're wearing the proper gear and then they stay warm and inside when we can.
The drills are taking place in coordination with local indigenous communities and other territorial partners, sharing expertise when operating in the harsh elements. Operation Nanook comes amid heightened tensions in the Arctic following comments from U.S. President Donald Trump on control over Greenland.
We need Greenland for national security and even international security, and we're working with everybody involved to try and get it.
Canada has recently opened a consulate in Greenland's Nuuk, with Prime Minister Mark Carney saying he aims to build defense ties with Scandinavian nations in the Arctic. Sergeant Tyson Cadell took part in an exercise teaching troops how to make smoke signals if they ever become lost in the woods.
The conditions are really challenging, but I think we're coming up here and learning what we need to do better for next time, and I think we're really meeting the moment.
has been happening. It happened last year, not as severely, but this is sort of like flash flood. Last year we were a bit more prepared for it. But yeah, no, it's crazy.